Welcome to Daily Office Devotions. I'm Reggie Kidd, and every Monday through Friday I offer devotional observations and some portion of that day's readings for morning prayer in the Book of Common Prayer. Thanks so much for joining me this Friday following the 9th Sunday after Pentecost. This happens to be year 2 of the daily lectionary, and this week we are in Proper 14. Our readings today come from Judges chapters 14 and 15, Acts chapter 7, and John chapter 4. We're going to stay with Samson today. Chapters 15 and 16 of the book of Judges complete Samson's story, the Old Testament readings for today, tomorrow, and the next day. I'll make a few summary observations and leave it to you to read the chapters as time and opportunity permit. Samson's story is narrated at more length than any of the other judges, and he is one of the most puzzling figures in all of Israel's history. Ironically, he mirrors the enigma of Israel itself. The book of Judges offers its own conclusion of the woeful period it describes. Every man did what was good in his own eyes, Judges chapter 21, verse 25. And if it were ever true of any person, it is true of self-willed Samson. I did it my way. Nazirite vows are voluntary, Numbers chapter 6, but not for Samson. He is called to it while in the womb. In the same way, Israel is chosen by God. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. It is you the Lord has chosen out of all the peoples on earth to be his people, his treasured possession, Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2. And Samson and Israel both handle their calling equally badly. Samson cavalierly and repeatedly violates his Nazirite vow. He touches a carcass, Judges chapter 14, verses 5 through 9 and 15. He drinks wine, chapter 14, verse 10, and he allows his hair to be cut, chapter 16, verse 16. His vow breaking is a mirror of Israel's serial covenant violations. Old Testament scholar Bruce Waltke poignantly describes Samson's spirituality. The spirit of I am overwhelms him 4 times, more than any other warlord, marking him as the most charismatic, but not as the most in tune with God's Spirit. Waltke writes this in an Old Testament theology, page 612. Samson's birth is as auspicious and promising as Moses's and Samuel's. He is spiritually cheered on by a godly woman, his mother, but Samson's heart is captured by 3 self-serving pagan women: his wife, Judges chapter 14, a prostitute, Judges chapter 16, verses 1 through 3, and his infamous lover, Delilah, Judges chapter 16, verses 4 through 20. He flounders in the great conflict between eros and charisma, summarizes Gerhard von Rad in his Old Testament Theology, Volume 1, page 334. Likewise, Israel constantly seesaws between loyalty to the invisible and holy Yahweh and prostration before the earthly Baals and Asherahs of storm and fertility. Samson's rebellion against God's call in his life results in his being captured, blinded, and cast into a dark prison. Israel's refusal to love God and keep covenant with him will result in her spiritual blindness. Stupefy yourselves and be in stupor. Blind yourselves and be blind, says Isaiah in chapter 29, verse 9 of his prophecy. And in her being sent into the darkness of Assyrian and Babylonian exiles. When Samson comes to the end of himself, he prays. First, he prays for life, Judges chapter 15, verses 18 through 19. And at the end, he prays for death, Judges chapter 16, verse 30. Israel's story is a continual cycle of rebellion, repentance, restoration. Her great prophets will long for and look to a final restoration when the Spirit will not just temporarily come upon people, as with Samson, but will permanently take up abode within them, when the Spirit will not merely steer stubborn wills, but remold resistant hearts to will God's will. A new heart I will give you, and a new spirit I will put within you, and I will remove from your body the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and make you follow my statutes and be careful to observe my ordinances. Ezekiel chapter 36, verses 26 and 27. In the end, Samson, despite himself, fulfills his calling to begin to deliver Israel from the hand of the Philistines. Judges chapter 13, verse 5. He is permitted to prefigure, if in a diminished way, one who will give his life for the rescue of his people. Samson stretches out his arms to pull down the pillars of the pagan temple. Judges chapter 16, verse 29. Anticipating Christ stretching out his arms on the cross. Colossians chapter 2, verses 14 through 15. But the difference in their prayers is telling. Samson prays, "Strengthen me only this once, O God, so that with this one act of revenge I may pay back the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Judges chapter 16, verse 28. Jesus prays, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Luke chapter 23, verse 34. I pray that you may rejoice in that forgiveness and be blessed this day.